Seriously, when is enough enough? Let's talk about it. Hey, welcome to another video. Do you think you can ever have too much camera gear? Really? I've been thinking about this recently. I had one of my subscribers make a comment to me not long ago that, you're really lucky to have all the lenses that you have. They're right. I can't argue with them at all. They're absolutely right. I've been very fortunate in the camera gear that I've been able to acquire over time. It didn't happen overnight. I've had to swap out a lot of things. I had my friend Tom, who I've mentioned. He left me a little bit of money and I used some of that to buy some of my gear. I've sold off a lot of my, or all of my Nikon F gear, except for one lens, which doesn't work anymore, but I still keep it, to acquire my lenses over time. And I admit I'm very fortunate. Now, I also made the conscious decision a while back that I was going to stay in the Nikon ecosystem. And so I didn't mind spending money on the lenses because I had a feeling that I would stay inside the ecosystem, even though at the time everybody was, not everybody, there were rumors Nikon's going to go out of business and this, that, and the other thing. I didn't buy into it. And they were way behind in the mirrorless world. They were. And now they've caught up. At least I think they have. So I took that risk. And I think that it's paid off over time. However, when does it come to a point, and I started this channel originally with one intention, well, one of the intentions was that I wanted kind of a community, a give and take, a talk between you and I as to certain discussions about photography. I didn't want it to just be me walking off and making a video about shooting a particular site, or me being a talking head here and giving you my opinion of whatever. I had really hoped that I could build more of a community. I tried that to some degree with the photo of the month thing that I ran a year or so ago. And I have created a video here and there where I try to get people to leave comments and talk about something. And this is another one. And that is, when do you have enough lenses? Can you have enough lenses? Or have you acquired lenses and then decided, well, I don't want them anymore? Now even inside the new Z system, I had the 105 lens. I wasn't using it, so I got rid of it. I had the 24 to 200 or 28 to 200, whatever it was. I had that for a while. I took it on one of the cruises I went on. And once Nikon came out with the 24 to 120 f4, I sold that lens. And this lives on my Z8 70-80% of the time. This is the lens I use the most. So if that's the lens I use the most, and the Z8 is my workhorse, this is the camera body that I use other than for filming. Right now I'm filming on a Z7II. I rarely use that to photograph. I took that out yesterday to photograph on it just because I hadn't used it in so long to make photos. I wanted to try it out again. But this is the camera that I use the most, and I use the 24 to 120 with it the most. And it doesn't matter whether I'm traveling or shooting wildlife. I occasionally shoot sports with the 24 to 120. I use it to walk around with. So why do I need all these other lenses? And do you need all these other lenses? For example, I have two 50 millimeters. I have the one that I'm shooting on, the Nikon 51.8, and I have the Voigtlander F2 Apo. They're both 50 millimeter lenses. Why would I need two 50 millimeter lenses? Good question. It's such a slight difference between this lens and the 50 Nikon. If you were to take two images and print them out, 11 by 14, stick them on the wall, I don't know that you could tell the difference. I don't think you could. So again, why do I have it? Well, I like the feel of manually focusing a lens once in a while. That's why I have it. I like the colors that come off this, just, I mean, ever so hair different. But I enjoy this lens. When I initially got into the Nikon Z system, one of the first lenses I got, well, the first two lenses I got was the 20 millimeter, because I was shooting a lot of seascapes at the time, and the 85 for portraits. Nikon didn't have a lot of zoom lenses at the time. They had a couple, but they didn't have the lens collection out that they do now. They have far more, a much better rounded selection of lenses now than they did when I got into the Z system. That's one of the reasons why I have 3 primes, is because A, at the time I liked shooting primes more, and B, those lenses were better than their zoom lenses really that they had out at the time, or ones that I could afford, because I think they had the 14 to 24 or whatever, but I didn't want to spend that kind of money on it. So why do I have 2 camera bodies? To answer, and I did answer in the comments, somebody asked me one time if I would prefer the Z7II or the ZF. And I can't answer that question because I've never used the ZF. I have thought about selling the Z7II for the ZF. But I don't know that there's enough advantages to doing that. First of all, I'd be going from a 45 megapixel sensor down to a 24. So I'm going backwards that way. I don't know that the weight is that much different between the 2 cameras. Obviously the look and feel of the ZF is very different. The autofocus capabilities are better on the ZF from what I understand. But again, because I used the Z8 so much, that's my workhorse. I don't know that I would use the ZF as much, except for maybe travel. And that really gets me into the point of this video and what I'm asking you, and I would hope that you leave some comments. I wish there was a way we could do a Zoom call and everybody could just discuss it and we could record it and talk about that. I have thought about maybe doing that in the future. But do you have a travel kit? Do you have a kit that you use just staying around the house? You know, do you have a walk around kit, a travel kit, a sports kit like this Tamron 7300? The only reason I keep it is because of my grandkids' soccer and baseball. It's the only reason why I have it. I don't want there to be a point in time where the longest focal length I have is 120 millimeter. If you've been watching my recent videos, you know that the majority of the work I'm doing now is in platinum printing. Even when I go out to photograph now, I think in terms of platinum. What will look good in platinum? And I've really been studying what subjects look best in platinum and what lenses do I need. And so I think there's going to come a day where I'm going to narrow this down to 2 or 3 lenses. I've been saying that for 2 years. But I think that that's what's going to happen. I'm going to keep 1 to shoot my portraits. I'm going to keep 2 for travel because I'll keep that 24 to 120 and I'll keep a prime. And then I'll decide if I want to keep a wide angle, the 20 millimeter, maybe a 28 millimeter for travel. I've had a few of the other Nikon lenses. I had the 105. I wasn't using it. Wasn't really a focal length that I was particularly comfortable with, so I got rid of it. I had the 35 for a short period of time. I just really wanted to try it out. I got a good deal on it and then I ended up selling it for what I had in it. But I tried it out for a month or two, and yeah, I'm more of a 50 millimeter guy. Now I'm going to get a 28 millimeter. From what I know about 28 millimeter lenses, they're not for everybody. I know the street people swear by it, but I'm not really a street photographer. The only reason why I want to get it is because for my cruise next year, one of the places we're going is Venice. and you have a lot of those little narrow alleyways with the canals and everything, to me that's 28 millimeter material. Now I'll definitely take the 24 to 120 as well, and I'm sure I'll use that. But I think for those alleyways, the 28 is where it will shine. But also, from what I understand, 28 millimeters are really hard to learn how to use, and that's one of the reasons why I want to take a look at it. Somebody's going to let me use one for 30 days, and then I can decide whether I want to keep it or not. But I want to try it out and see if it's a focal length that, you know, I'm comfortable with, because I'm really comfortable with a 50. 28, I'm not so sure. So again, when is it enough? You know, do you have one or two lenses that you just use and you don't worry about anything else? Again, because I shoot such a variety of topics and subjects, I like having lenses for that particular need. But I have a feeling as I get older, carrying all that weight around Europe, if I go on these trips, it's not going to make me happy. So I'm going to go to a smaller body, whether it's a ZF or whatever it is, and just take one or two lenses. Which, as a side note, makes me think, like right now I use a Shimoda bag, and you know, I strap it on my back and I take that on the airplane and everything. Do you have a bag, do you have a travel bag made by Shimoda or whoever that you like? You know, that's not even necessarily, I would actually probably prefer it not to look like a camera bag. I've looked at a couple of these leather bags, but they're heavy and they just really go on over one shoulder, and I don't know that I want that either. So if you have a camera bag that you like, that doesn't necessarily look like a camera bag, that's light and it's an easy travel bag where you can just put in one or two camera bodies and a couple of lenses, yeah, I'd appreciate it. Put it in a comment, let me know. The only reason why I keep two camera bodies at the time, actually I have three. I have this converted infrared camera, which I do use. If you watch some of my videos, I do use it. And I have a 7 Artisans lens that I use on it. I fully admit 7 Artisans sent me this lens to do a review on, and I got to keep it. So thank you again to 7 Artisans. But this lens lives on this camera. I could sell it, but for the little bit of money I would get for it, I prefer to just keep it. And the only reason why I keep the Z7II is because years ago I was going to go on a vacation to Ireland and England and Scotland, and literally less than a week before we were going on the trip, I had gotten the camera out to make sure the sensor was clean and everything. And I took it outside and I was using it, and just by coincidence it broke. Lucky for me, I didn't just take it out of the bag, take it to Europe, and then the first time I used it, it broke, and it would have been the only camera body I had at the time, and I'd have been screwed. I wouldn't have had a camera the whole time on the trip. And many years ago, back in, I want to say it was 1981, I went to a Rolling Stones concert and I stuck in my camera. I had a Pentax K1000, and the first shot I took, the spring on the shutter broke. Well, I don't have two camera bodies, you know? So I've learned the lesson the hard way, that I like to take two camera bodies. Do I need it? Maybe. So that's why I kept my Z7II. But anyway, I don't want to be too long-winded in this video. I'm just curious your thoughts on, and you don't have to name every lens you have and what brand, and I'm not, even though I admit I'm a Nikon shooter, mostly because I've got too much money invested into the ecosystem. That's really why I stay with them. So I'm not big on brands. If some other camera brand, and I know they're not going to, and I'm not sitting here begging for it, believe me, I'm not. But if some other camera brand sent me their camera and said, would you like to try it out? And yeah, I would. I definitely would, because I'm interested in learning about different things. So I don't care what brand you use, doesn't matter to me, but I'm curious about your opinion on lenses. How many lenses do you think you need? Why you need them? If you're just a street photographer, you know, you only keep one or two lenses. If you shoot a wide variety of subjects like I do you keep 4 or 5 lenses? You know, do you have a manual focus lens? Do you have prime lenses? Do you have zoom lenses? I'm just curious. I really want to try to have a discussion through the comments as to what you do. Maybe you shoot film. If you still shoot film, I'd like to know that. You know, you never really got into the digital stuff. Yeah, I'd be curious about that. There are a lot of film shooters that are still out there. Unfortunately, film's gotten so expensive now that I don't know that I would go back to film. Thanks for watching. Take good care of yourself. And please let me know in the comments what you think. Till next time, take good care. Bye for now.